Hey everyone, and welcome to a special Friday the 13th episode of the Nerdy Up North podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul.
And I missed the bit out by us. I missed the bit out of the nerdy podcast hosted by two northern nerds. God, I really did get a bit too excited when we first came on, and now I'm getting my words won't come out properly.
Bless you. No, it is a special day. Like I say, Friday the 13th. Like I say, anything spooky happened to you today, Sam?
Nettled my hand.
Well, it's bad luck for some, shall we say?
Yep, completely and utterly nettled one hand. Just the one. Fully, and it's still completely numb. But no, apart from that, I've had a canny day. Got my car fixed, so that was lucky that got done. But yeah, you?
Not really. Been stuck at work all day, so it's been.
So yeah, it has been pretty unlucky.
But it's always been strange, like especially when you get like a Friday the 13th. That's either in the summer or during like in the middle of the year, because normally you want it to be a bit dark, a bit Halloweeny, a bit scary type thing.
Well, do you want to know an interesting fact?
Oh, well then.
Friday the 13th will always happen if the month starts with Sunday.
Right, okay.
There you go. That's a fact I learned earlier today. Because there's not a lot of facts about Friday the 13th that are interesting.
I used to love it when I was a kid. Like growing up in Rye, like say, old mining village, like next door to Cherry Knoll Hospital, which was an old asylum, and also Rye Cemetery was just on my doorstep as well. So, like say, for being a weird alternative kid, there was always many adventures to have. And again, if you've never heard of it, look up Cherry Knoll Hospital. It's quite a scary building for anyone who's listening at home.
It's not open still, is it? But it's still there.
No, it's all gone now. It's been pulled down.
Oh, has it?
The asylum part and everything's completely gone. It's getting houses built on it, which is I wouldn't like to live there.
No, I remember my little gran used to be in Ryop Hospital at one point, and it used to be right next to it, and I used to be absolutely terrified of just looking at the building. Like it looks so, and you hear all these horror stories at school about Cherry Knolls, and the name itself. Yeah, it sounds like something out of a horror film.
It should have been. After me, I was a bit of a rapscallion as a kid, so we broke into it many a times. Sorry, Mum. Sorry, Dad. It was quite interesting because it had like giant swimming pools. It still had, like say, the rooms where they used to strap people down, and like say, even the padded cells was still there, and there was tunnels underground. We didn't get in the tunnels because, to be fair, that would have been scary. There was always stories that there was they used to bury the patients underneath them, and then, but like if you got in the swimming pool, they had giant goldfish in because some of the security guards apparently put some goldfish in the swimming pool, and they grew. Well, as goldfish do, they grow in the size where, like say, the things, and they were absolutely massive when we got in. But it was such an interesting place, but terrifying. I know, like say, I've never really believed in ghosts, but if I was, there was some unusual noises or sounds that come from that place when we were inside that we'd never really explained.
Oh, I don't know. I used to like proper heavily believe in ghosts. Like I used to watch Most Haunted. I was like proper into it. I did have a spooky experience in Chillingham Castle once.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Many moons ago. The torture bit.
Mm-hmm.
The torture bit. That is, it was just incredibly unnerving.
Yeah.
Like I felt uneasy in there, and it obviously would, given like where you are, you would feel uneasy. But also, we went into the it was like the King's meeting room, so it was like where they used to come and congregate after battle, and you've got like the main chair at the top, long table, and then chairs around it. It wasn't the biggest of rooms because I was always thinking how many people could actually get in here, but we were in there with another couple, and they were taking just photographs of the room because it has like the big Gothic window in there as well. And she showed us one of the pictures that were taken, like one picture, second picture, straight after each other. One picture had an orb, which I always just keep my pants laughing at. It is dust. But when she zoomed in on the orb, you could definitely see there was some kind of like facial features in there.
All right.
It was so, but it wasn't on the second picture.
Yeah. I think it's one of them things, like something I've wanted to always believe in, but never quite, because as you said, there's always little nuggets or people say they've had these type of experience, but there's never any concrete proof. Like I've done the whole Edinburgh vaults and stuff. Dublin was always interested in doing the ghost tour in Dublin, but I'm always interested in it. But it's one of them things. I'm always be a skeptic at heart, I think. But Cherry Knoll Hospital was one for the ages, though.
I think I am now, like back in my older days, but back in my more gullible days, because I am incredibly gullible. But my more gullible days, I used to proper eat it up, proper eat it up. But the other day, I was sitting in the living room. I was on the phone. I was like texting my friend Amy, and I just says, "Oh my god, I had a wrapper on the side, and I was getting the wrapper is literally just moved." I'd convinced myself that it moved from like one place to another. It hadn't. It just opened out.
Bless.
Yes,
the weird things we used to do to get scared, though. But coming back to the topic that we are talking about, but the being Friday the 13th, we decided after the Scream one and having so much fun doing the nerd talk on the Scream, we were going to bring it back to our top fives, and we've been putting this one off for quite a while now. Top 5 slasher movies.
Yes. Now, we haven't fully prepared like we would normally with the top 5, because we just thought it'd be an open conversation, but we are going to give you our top 5 slasher films.
Good.
And I can imagine a lot is going to be the same.
It might surprise you, but like I said, just a disclaimer out there, the ultimate best slasher film, in my opinion, is Halloween. I've already mentioned it, I've already talked about it, so I can't use it again in this subject, which is annoying. But to me, that, again, I know there's been a lot of different films and a lot of different things, but that is, to me, the ultimate slasher film for scares and just for film quality, shall we say.
Well, I'll kick the list off then, because I've not mentioned it before.
Right.
I've not had it on one of my lists before. Halloween is on my list.
Oh, cool.
It is in there because I genuinely love this film, and I will redact something I said on an old YouTube channel I used to have with Carolyn. We did a reaction to the new Halloween movie at the time, and it's genuinely funny. If you can go and find it on YouTube, it's hilarious because we generally do scream. It is so funny. But I said on that, I watched the 1974 one. Was it 1974? Something like that. But I watched it recently, and it doesn't hold up. I was talking out my arse.
Thank you.
It does hold
we can still be
up.
friends.
Yay! It does hold up. It is incredibly intense. Even now, like years and years and years later, it's still intense. It is unreal. So yes, I will take back everything I said. And I wasn't dissing it. It's just at the time, that's how I felt. And it probably because I'd watched Halloween 2, and then I watched Halloween 3. And I love Halloween 3.
It's an interesting take. Yeah.
It's not Halloween. It's nothing to do with the Halloween franchise. It should have just been called Season of the Witch. But I absolutely adore that film so much. So much so that my mouse mat for my work table is Silver Shamrock.
Right.
I absolutely adore it. I think it's brilliant.
But I love the masks in that one. The 3 ones, like the witch, the pumpkin, and was it the skeleton face?
Yeah, and they were featured in the trailer for the new Halloween film, which I thought was brilliant. Just a nice little nod.
Yes, it's shown a lot in that one. But again, going back to the original, the best, the one and only John Carpenter's Halloween, like from that as well, there's a few films that use music perfectly, like Jaws, amazing, but Halloween as well. It builds the tension slowly. It doesn't ever show too much. And I'm over the moon that you've picked it so we can talk about it again.
Well, I've never had it on a list. I've never picked it before. So, and I knew you wouldn't put it on a list because you already had. I completely agree when it comes to music. There's another one on my list. I'm not going to say yet, but another one on my list that has the same effect. The music in it builds on the tension of the actual film. Yeah. And you'll know exactly what I mean when I say the film later on. Jamie Lee Curtis is fucking real in this film. Unreal. Like, this was her first major film.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Do
it
you
was
know
the
what?
first. It's the first appearance. I don't know if it was the first appearance, but she was the. I think it was the first big role because I watched something the other night. She was asked to be Regan in The Exorcist, so she was
You
originally.
watched Eli Roth's History of Horror.
Yes, I
That's
have.
what you watched.
Yes, well, me and Nick's blasted through both seasons in like a week.
So good. They're so good, though, aren't they?
Very entertaining, and like I say, you learn a lot of stuff. But I was shocked to know that Jamie Lee Curtis was actually asked to be Regan in The Exorcist, but her and her mum both turned it down, said it wasn't for her. So, and they were glad they didn't.
Yep. The actress who is the mouthy one, a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the names. It's not her from Carrie. It's not her. It's the other one.
Mm-hmm.
The one who gets killed while babysitting.
Yeah.
She's in Halloween 3. She's the wife.
All
She's
right.
the nagging wife in Halloween 3.
Right, okay.
I just absolutely love it. I really do. And I really, really love the new one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's like, not just because it was missing out the ones that I've not seen. I've not seen 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I think H2O was perfect for the time it was released because
Mm-hmm.
it fit in with the horror genre at the time.
It was very Scream,
Yeah.
based on the Scream franchise. After that, it was kind of because it was written by Kevin Williamson as well, I believe, or directed. Yeah. I know he had a part in it, type thing.
I'm not 100% sure. It fit the genre at the time. So I think it fit in, but I love the fact of taking the element out that she's not Michael's sister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she is just, because that makes it even more scary that she to him is absolutely nobody, but just somebody who got in his way and he just never got to kill her.
It just it just went, not you, you, no reason. I'm coming for you.
Reason.
And, yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, amazing pick. And with you mentioning it, I'll go with my pick there. It's Halloween 2018.
Yay. Good. So you managed to get a Halloween film in there. It just wasn't the first one.
It was always going to be.
Well done.
I was always going to be Michael Myers. Michael Myers is the ultimate bogeyman. He is terrifying. Fuck Rob Zombie for what he did to Michael Myers. Sorry if you're a fan. I fucking hated them films because they give Michael Myers a backstory, a reason to be evil. He doesn't need to be a reason. He's just fucking scary.
Yeah, I don't particularly. I think I owned them before I sold all my collection. But I can honestly hand on heart, I don't think I've ever watched them. I've no interest. I like Rob Zombie when it's Rob Zombie doing Rob Zombie, and he's just allowed to, because I think that's where he's best creatively is when he can do his own thing. Yeah. Don't get us wrong. I'm all for the fact that he's doing the Monsters. I think it'll be an interesting take, but I'm not overly excited about it because, like I say, I just think he's better letting his own imagination go off.
Certainly. And I think with the new Halloween, as you said, just disregarding everything that came after, because the franchise did become a bit of a joke for a long time, as a lot of horror films do. And this went, right, starting here, the first one did happen. This is what happened afterwards, which to me was brilliantly and well thought out. And what was perfect as well was the casting. They used good casting, people that were relatable, like the people who played like like Lauren Strode's daughter. I think she was called Judy Greer, I think.
Yeah, Judy Greer. She's in Ant-Man. For Marvel fans, she's in everything, to be honest, wasn't she? She was in Big Bang Theory as well.
Yeah, but
Judy Greer in that?
I think she probably will have. She was going to say quite like a TV actress for a while as well. But there was a part in that film where she was absolutely mesmerizing. Like even outdid Jamie Lee Curtis is basically the turning point when Michael's going down and she's like pretending to be like this victim, scared, and then you just switch and you just go, and you think,
you just got yeah. And I'm just getting goosebumps just thinking about that scene because she flipped the switch. Like she is her mother's daughter. She just didn't want to be her mother's daughter because she even wore a Christmas jumper on Halloween to keep away from the fact of what her mother goes through all the time. So, and I love that. But yeah, when it counted, she then became her mother's daughter, and it was just and then the granddaughter as well.
Yes.
Such a good casting for a young actress. She was just, she acted how you, if Laurie Strode had the knowledge of what she does now from when she was younger, that's how I'd imagine she would be.
Yeah, like say, doing the right thing, running away, not trying to get into different things, doing sensible things in horror films where you can relate to. But again, I'm not trying to be on the feminist agenda. Strong female characters, not being weak, not being we're damsels in distress, showing that they can mess people up, and family sticks together at the end, even though, like I say, grandmother Laurie Strode was a bit shall we say, touched it in certain areas, and the area when they go to, like I say, her farm, and she's got them mannequins where like she uses for target practice. Like I say, it's a nightmare fuel. That, like I say, is scary, and the way she trapped out her house that she knew he was coming as well was so brilliantly done. Again, I've got nothing but admiration, because I didn't expect much from this film, and it gives us so much more. That's why it's on the top 5, because my expectations was here, and it just blew them away. And
I was thoroughly looking forward to it. I was in a horror bubble at the time, like a proper horror little bubble. Like I've just accepted that I'm always in that bubble. Like I can't get out of it at all. And I remember me and Carolyn go to the pictures, we like to get what we call the oh god, what do we call them? So we don't want to sit next to anyone. We like literally being sat out the way of people, and we always get the 2-seaters. But the people who were sat behind us, I remember at the end of it, there was a guy and a girl, and he turned around and went, "What a pile of shit that actually was." And I just remember turning around going, "What the fuck?" Like, what have you just watched? Like, it was unreal. Like this.
You know what probably it was? It probably scared him, and he didn't want to admit that he was scared. Trying to be
I remember when we went to go and see it, and we couldn't get our normal seats, and we had to sit amongst the people. And there was two young girls sat next to us, and they were absolutely, like, genuinely terrified. I could not stop laughing. I was literally inside tickled with laughter, but generally did actually feel sorry for them, because I think that a few times they wanted to get up and leave. And I was like, "Oh no, just stay, you paid your money."
Just entertain us a little bit more.
I'm going to see how this is going to play out.
Bless you. No, I love a good horror film. Like I say, that's one thing I did enjoy watching, like the original and this one. Again, I've mentioned in the past, I'm not showing off having the projector and the big screen, watching these films as they should be. Like I say, I know it's always fun watching it on TV, but seeing it on a big screen, it makes all the difference, all the atmosphere.
No, I get it.
It's all the fun in the park there. But yes, so my first pick, Halloween 2018, which again, in theory, is Halloween 2.0, shall we say? Because two didn't happen.
No, 2 didn't happen.
No, so basically when Michael fell off the thing, he got arrested. So 2 didn't, technically 2 didn't happen. The next one's going to be in the hospital, so that looks like it's going to be like what happens in the hospital afterwards.
Right. See, I never knew the continuity of, because when they changed it up, I was like, I don't know what falls in where. And I definitely knew from 3 onwards, had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's such a good watch. Like, if you have not seen it, like, what is wrong with you? It's so good.
Yes.
It's, and the fact that they've still got what's his name? See, this is why I like to come prepared, and I stupidly didn't. The doctor.
Yes, Dr. Loomis.
Dr. Loomis. Oh my god, that would have annoyed us.
Donald Pleasure.
That's it. Thank you. Even the fact that they had him like running through, like he was still a part of it, even though he's been dead for a long time. First person to mention who's dead.
I was going to make a joke. I felt bad last week. I thought I was going to have upset her.
No, I do it all the time. You're not the first person to point it out. You probably will not be the last person. I do it all the time. But no, even like having him like running through it, his notes, his learnings, his teachings, all about like, that was still implanted in there. I thought that was really special. And any collectors out there, Trick or Treat Studios have just brought out the Michael Myers mask for the next film.
Oh.
It's available at Mad About Horror. But I think it's for pre-order at the moment. But yeah, it's literally just come out today and it looks pretty special.
Cool.
I just said it's come out today, but it's on pre-order. That made no sense. Sorry.
You can pre-order it from today.
It's out. If you go to Mad About Horror, it's on there. It is absolutely unreal. Done by Trick or Treat Studios.
Cool.
Right. So my next one. I'm just going to get it out of the way with because I know it's on your list, and if it's not, we're going to be having words.
Right.
Trick or Treat.
It's not on my list.
God damn it, Paul! What is? Whoa!
I don't consider it as a slasher. It's more of a like I say.
Are you effing kidding me? Right, you need to go back and listen to one of our horror ones because you told me when I put this on an honourable mention, you said I would consider that as a slasher.
Right. Well, I think you talked us round though, so I'm going to give you the credit here because it's one of them video collections one where it's multiple stories, but.
It is, but I still like it.
Yeah, I was toying with the idea of it, but again, I think I'm leaving this one closer to Halloween because it is one of my Halloween watches, Trick or Treat, which again, as a surprise, I wasn't expecting this to be as good as it was.
Me neither. If you look at the promotional stuff, if you look at the posters, this screams out, this is a pile of shit. It really does.
It didn't come out in the cinema though, did it?
If you just look at the posters itself, like it just doesn't look great. The opening of it, with the comic book style opening of it, even that looks a bit. But when you get into it, you're proper in it.
Yeah,
like it is so bad.
Try to think how many stories is it in there because
there is the opening. With the couple who don't do Halloween properly, who don't follow the rules of Halloween, and that's when you introduce to Sam. And then you've got the guy who kills the kid. You've got the serial killer. You've got the serial killer. You've got the kid stealing pumpkins to do a ritual. You've got Anna Paquin and her pack of werewolf bitches, which totally scared the shit out of us. I did not see that coming.
No.
And then you've got obviously the serial killer who encounters the werewolves.
So he was the same serial killer that killed the kids. Because Yep.
And then you've got the old guy at the end who has the big encounter with Sam, and it is just brilliant.
Oh, who's it? It was Brian Cox. The old guy was Brian Cox. Yes. Hannibal Lecter.
Yes, it is. I can't think of his name from X-Men. That would have been really cool if I could have thought of his name from X-Men. I can't. But yeah, it is. When you said it was a slasher film when we were doing the horror ones, I was like, I kind of get that because Sam does brandish a knife.
Yeah.
But he doesn't kill him. He walks away.
It's a weird one because when I watched, as you said, watching the Eli Roth of horror, there was a lot of films there in that potentially I wouldn't class as a slasher film that talked about and used. So it's a hard genre to say it, but again, I probably, when I originally thought about it, I did think it was going to be a slasher film. But when you talked about it, and like I say, when we had that conversation, it kind of then changed my mind a little bit. Because it does have slasher elements, but that's not the key story. It's like a ghost story. It's a werewolf story. It's a serial killer.
That's true. Because I did make a big fuss of the fact that it's anthology, and I love anthology movies. Like, love me and it just could the whole VHS series. I would never normally go out my way to watch something like that. Just looking at the front of the DVD case alone, it kind of put us off a bit because I just thought that was going to be like a gore fest, and I'm not kind of a gore horror fan. And it wasn't at all. It is, and we binged the series. It is unreal, so good. But I also love the Twilight Zone movie, which again is anthology, and Creepshow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Creepshow, absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
absolutely love, and I just love anthology. I love the fact that everything all mixes in, and they can sometimes interwoven with each other.
But the thing I think about Trick or Treat as well, there was iconic imagery in there that you weren't really expecting as well. Like the Sam, the pumpkin, and like the sack head, was brilliant. And when you take that off, and the elements of like say these little candy cane that he uses to stab people, was quite terrifying. Like say the kids who got stuck on the school bus, like and came back as zombie monsters again. That was terrifying the way they did that, and the young girl who played like the picked on nerd, which we all related to. All she wanted was the boy to like her or to be friends with her. Was thinking like say elements in there was all done perfect in a way, and again, I know it's really and it's really hard to get hold of on DVD and Blu-ray. I don't know if you've noticed.
No, I've never actually gone out to try and buy it. It is, it just has such a huge fan base. Like just for Sam alone, like he is very much adored and loved. Merchandise-wise for us in the UK, quite hard to come by. So I can imagine the DVDs being quite hard to come by too. In America, not an issue. He's everywhere. Spirit of Halloween had a huge one of them. For next to nothing. Like you look at it like our version of TK Maxx prices, like it wasn't very expensive. But Be More Geek in the Metro Centre has the lolly.
I've got the NECA figure.
Yeah. Oh, how
yeah, and I've got the pop as well.
I see. I said to myself I wouldn't start collecting NECA until this room was done out, because NECA is like not something I would want to take out of the box. And I need places for it. But they had the lollipop in Be More Geek, and I was so close to buying it. So close. But I was shopping with my mum, and we'd already been to TK Maxx, I'd already bought a shitload of Halloween stuff, and I'm like, I'm nearly 40. If I walk out with this lollipop, she is going to ask some serious questions that I cannot be bothered to get into right now. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it. I'll leave it.
No problem.
But yeah, I put Trick or Treat on there just because I genuinely thought you would have had it on, and I've been dying to talk to you about it for a while. So
no, it's a good choice. I've went a bit left field with some of mine. I've tried to pick ones that you probably wouldn't expect. So, like say my next pick, like say you'll probably never have guessed this in a million years, but it's strange. But just before we finish, again, Trick or Treat. If you haven't seen it, try and get yourself a copy. It is generally one of the better horror films, and it will surprise you as well. There's a lot of hidden gems in that, and yeah, it's a brilliant film.
For a horror film, it's adorable. It is absolutely adorable. But the storytelling itself, is just really well done. Like that's all I can say. It's well done stories that fit in the horror genre. It's just it's fantastic, absolutely brilliant film. But go on, what's your next one?
So when I watched this, it completely wasn't what I expected, and it done the slasher film in a way that I don't think it'll ever be done again. And there's talks of a sequel, which again I wouldn't mind, but if they don't make another sequel, I wouldn't be too upset, because I think it's just a perfect film. It's one of the actors in it is one of my favourite actors, and he's brilliant in anything he does, is Alan Tudyk. So it's Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh my god! Yes! And why did I not even think of this? This is genuinely one of the funniest horror films that has ever been done, because it is the one that takes the piss out of every horror cliche that there is.
Yes.
And I love it. Oh my god, I so want to go and watch this film now. I love it.
It's just hilarious, because you see the artwork, you see the cover, and it looks like it's just going to be a general, like, country bumpkins kill kids in the woods horror. But it turns out it flips the switch and says these two lovable country bumpkins just want to like a nice little easy getaway, and these kids for some reason are absolutely terrified of them and get themselves into the most stupid positions where they end up killing themselves by accident in ways that are the most gruesome and idiotic ways possible. And so everyone that witnesses it, they think these poor two blokes like Alan Tudyk and what's the other lad called? Tyler Labine. He played Dale. I know he was in Reaper years ago.
I love that film.
Mm-hmm. But honestly, it's just hilarious. Like I say, it feels like it's going to be like say something like Evil Dead, and it turns out to be Final Destination gone wrong.
I've just said that Reaper was a film. It wasn't. Sorry, it's a. I'm sorry. I'm pulling up all my films on my phone now. I want more information. We should have come more prepared. This is. It mocks in like the best way possible all the horror cliches but they don't inflict it. They do it to themselves. Like, it is genius, and they're doing a sequel.
There was talks about it, but I don't think it's going ahead. I know, again, it's one of them films that didn't do well or didn't get released in the cinema, and it found its home on DVD or Blu-ray when it first came out. It was like a word of mouth film where more people watched it, and you can't help but enjoy this film. Even if you're not a horror fan, it's just so ridiculously funny. Like there's bits where like this one kid thinks he's being chased, and he's running alongside like what he thinks Tucker and Dale, and it turns out they're running right alongside each other, and they're just looking at each other saying, "Why are you running? We're not chasing each other." And the kid runs into a tree branch that splits him in half, and it's so grotesque and like idiot. And poor like Tucker and Dale is like looking at each other. Why are these kids? Have you joined? Are there a secret cult that's killing themselves in front of us? And like I say, there's a local sheriff that are quite suspicious of Tucker and Dale because they're like say look like the country bumpkins, and they think that they're trying to kill them, but then he gets killed in the most accidental but stupid way as well. But I think one of the things a beam gets knocked off and it just hits him and nails in the head. And these poor kids are just chasing, and this, like say, the love interest that's in it as well. She's kind of like knows that Dale's not a killer, and she's trying to tell all her friends, but she keeps him getting knocked out. It's like slapstick horror, but done amazingly well. Yeah,
it's such a good cast as well. Like, and Alan Tudyk doesn't get enough screen time. Like, he's just so funny, and it was a surprise. I generally, to look at it, it just looks like.
It shouldn't work. You know, it shouldn't work. That's the beauty of it.
Do you know them zombie films that keep bringing out, like Zombie Beavers and shit like that?
Yes.
It reminded me of something like that. Like it was just gonna be naff. Naff.
Sorry, get the northern out of you there, Sam. So it's fine.
Well, I've noticed quite a few times that we've said film.
Or film.
Film. It's just a topic that's on the Facebook group at the moment about the northern language and how we change words, and film is one of them. I used to work in Exeter, and people used to pull me up for that a lot. But yeah, it's so funny, and just so them characters are just so lovable. Like you just love the life out of them. That you just can't believe all this bad stuff's happening to them.
Yes. So that's
it's been a while since I've seen it though.
I know. I think, like I say, because Nick's away looking after the cats at the moment, so I think it'll be one basically we'll watch when she gets back.
Well, my next one is a recent one. It's from 2017.
All right.
I basically watched it because everyone else was watching it. That was the only reason. I had no reason to watch it. I hadn't watched a trailer or anything like that. And I thought, everyone's talking about it on Instagram. I'm just going to go and watch it. And it's from Blumhouse. So why I doubted that I wouldn't like it, I don't know. But it's Happy Death Day.
All right. Yeah. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was a film that I think we'll describe it as just like popcorn film you would watch and. Like I say, I never really. Like I say, I'm surprised they got a sequel, but
I love the sequel. I really generally love these films. Films. I watched it and I was like, I said to Anne, you've got to watch it. Like it's just an enjoyable film. There's nothing. Yeah. I'm going to say movie from now on. I hate the fact that I can hate it.
don't take away, like I said, what makes you good. That's the fine.
Damn you, Tom, for putting that up on there. No, I got him to watch it with us for my second run, and he really enjoyed them to the point where we watched the second one when it came out together, and it was just fun. I like the idea of it, and it's Groundhog Day in the worst way possible. But the fact that they use that analogy at the end when he says, "Oh, it's like Groundhog Day, that," and she was like, "What's Groundhog Day?" It's like, "Oh, blasphemy." I thought the actress who played Tree was just brilliant.
Yeah,
loved her. I thought she was fantastic. I just really liked her attitude. I think she was a proper bitch, and then just turned into a non so bitch.
Just like I like the premise. Like I said, you can be an arsehole and like die so many million times, and then decide I might want to rechange how I treat people.
Yeah. But every time, I like the fact that every time she died, it's not like she was better the next day. She was feeling the effect of each death that she was having.
Yeah, and it was having like more and more effects. So then we could going to give you that like sense of urgency, like, well, shit, we need to get the sword because there's one of these times I'm not going to wake back up type thing. Yeah, quite like that element. Like I say, the baby face thing killer was quite sinister as well. That whole mask,
chubby baby face,
was off-putting, shall we say? But I think the reason why I didn't love it as much, it just reminded us of a Supernatural episode, the mystery spot where where Dean gets killed like so many different times, and Sam's going slowly insane watching Dean die every day. But
oh my god, it's where he sings at the beginning, doesn't he? Yeah. Every morning he's singing the same song, and by the end of the episode, you are singing that song.
Yeah, I know exactly which one. The moment.
That's it. That's it. I remember that one. Oh, back when Supernatural was good.
Yes, when I think it was like I say, the first introduction. I don't know if it was. No, actually, it was a second introduction of Loki. I think it was the second time he was there. But yes, that's what it reminds us of. Like I say, that episode of Supernatural. And again, this might be just being biased, but I thought Supernatural did it better.
I don't know. I don't want to agree because it's on my list.
Yeah.
But I kind of see where you're coming. No, I generally like it. I thought it was a modern day slasher done in a modern day setting that didn't, but still had the same feel as what the slasher genre should be. So that's my pick.
Yeah, no, it's a good pick. I'm surprised. Like I say, I know you went for the original Halloween, but we haven't went more of the more traditional classic slashers. I know we can't use Scream because, like I said, that was Scream that we talked about last week.
Yeah, we've already done it. We took that out by doing a whole episode on it.
Yeah, so that was the thing. But like I say, when you think about all the difference, like I know my picks, I haven't went to classical, which surprised me as well. But I don't think. Like I say, I think I liked them more when I was younger, but when I've watched them now, they don't really have too much of an effect. But again, I think I've got a few honourable mentions when we talk about afterwards. But,
yeah, I do. I have honourable mentions too. Some that to be honest, it was the Trick or Treat one I replaced one with. But I'll get into my honourable mentions a bit. Right, that's my Happy Death Day.
Cool. So my next one is basically a Scream rip-off. But I still really enjoy this one. It's done in a way that, like I say, I really enjoyed. And like I say, again, with going back to what I loved about as well, is the cast was done brilliantly. And it was Urban Legends.
Oh, you mentioned this last week.
Yeah.
I should have seen that one coming. It's different. For all it fits in with that time of Scream, and I know what you did last summer. It still had a different feel to it. Yeah,
but that was one of the things I did like about it, because there was a lot of films that came out after Scream that were direct rip-offs. Like say, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like say, Cherry Falls. Even this, like say, Urban Legends, were like say, part of the Scream craze, and some of them did them well. Some of them, like I say, I didn't hate. I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I didn't love it at the same time.
I did at the time. I did at the time of release because obviously, as I mentioned last week, I was wanting to live that American lifestyle, like, and that was that was part of it. Was them, the summer before they go off to college, and Nothing like our summer holidays. They actually did something fun, apart from the killing somebody. But yeah, it fit. So at the time, yes. Right now, not so much.
I still like this one because I think with me, I was always a big fan of urban legends. Like, say, I used to read about them. Used to go on the internet and see, like, say, Bloody Mary or all these big American folk stories or things that people used to do, like turn your headlights off and if someone flashes you chase them down and stuff like that.
Oh, I was going to say, is that not that's not dogging, isn't it?
No.
That's what they're doing, jogging.
I know we're not family friendly, Sam, but let's
Sorry, I have been listening to a podcast today that was talking about the ethics of dogging.
Right, okay.
So it just came into my head. My apologies. I do urban legends.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you said Bloody Mary.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge one for us in the northeast of England, because that is Mary Ann Cotton. Yeah.
Not sure. I know because Bloody Mary was just basically you say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror and then.
Oh my God! Yes, right.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the So when we were at school, so Mary Ann Cotton was a serial killer ish. Yeah, she poisoned a lot of people. If they basically got in her way, she gave them a cup of tea that had arsenic in it, which apparently
was from wallpaper at the time as well.
Very easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, it was on the wallpaper. She used to scrape it off the wallpapers in the house and put it in tea.
Put it in tea.
Yeah.
I watched Dark Angel on Sunday. I actually watched it before we did the Scream podcast. And it was very, very good. I enjoyed it. But yeah, when we were in school, we used to do you had to have a gold ring with blonde hair, and because we are right next to or in direct line to the prison where she was hanged, because she was from the area that I lived at before I moved back to where I'm at now. She actually lived there, and you used to swing the gold. You used to have like the hair and the gold ring and on your hand, and if it swung round, she was in the area. She was gonna get you.
I think that's what the thing, like all the ghost stories, like living, like say in, like say near where I did, and also like say Hilton Castle, at the card lad of Hilton. They used, like say the school I went to in Ripe used to have a ghost that used to haunt the girls' toilets for some reason. But I was always interested in, like say, that kind of folklore type tales that thing. So that element of like the urban legends always did grow us. And like I said, as you think of the cast for, like I say, a 90s horror, like say Jared Leto was in it, Joshua Jackson, it had Robert Englund in as well, Tara Reid.
It did.
So the cast was pretty not too bad, and again, it was fun. It had the Scream feel where it didn't take itself too seriously. It made jokes about the whole genre and, like say, about the urban legends as well. And again, not many, like I didn't see the twist with a female killer. That's the one thing I didn't see coming, and that's where most of the horror films at that time was quite easy to work out and quite easy to spot. That one didn't. That one did catch us out. So again, I was quite happy about that. So that's why Urban Legend is in my top 5 slashers.
It's a good one. It's been such a long time since I've seen it. The one scene that I will literally skip or leave the room for is the dog in the microwave.
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive. I can't do anything to, even if it's fictional, hurting animals, cannot do it. Will walk out of a room, will either cover my eyes and ears so I can't hear anything. That's what scares me. Not female serial killers running around, or even male ones for that matter, but animals getting hurt, can't do it. It is a good one though. I really enjoyed it. I want to go and watch it again.
That's always the problem though, when we talk about these things. Like, I know I was laughing at like the Facebook group last week. One of the lasses who's just put a post on saying that you're listening to the Scream podcast and getting very frustrated that you can't trip in and argue with us, which again would probably, if it was me watching it, would probably be the same thing. So it's good that we're getting that type of response. But yes, Urban Legends, Scream knockoff, which, to be honest, if I could pick Scream, would have probably taken its place. But no, I still enjoyed it. I still love it.
Good. Well, my next one is from the year I was born.
Okay.
1983. So it is in the ending part of the slasher genre. It's kind of, well, it's actually almost like bang in the middle. If the slasher genre came to an end right at the end of the 80s, this is bang in the middle. It is, where is it? There's nothing really much to. It has one of, I don't know if controversial is the right term to use, but controversial endings ever in a horror film.
Right.
If I was to gape my mouth open. Sleepaway Camp.
Sleepaway Camp.
You've never heard of Sleepaway Camp?
No, I've never heard of it.
Holy Mother of God. You've never heard of Sleepaway Camp? I'm shocked. It's part of the slasher genre. It does have a very controversial ending. Right. And I don't actually want to get into it because I really want you to go and watch it. It's on YouTube. The full film's on YouTube. It is very, it's a camp based.
Yeah, so it's in the theme of a Friday the 13th type thing.
But it's the kids that are the focus, not the actual the counsellors that are there. It's the kids that are the focus.
Right.
It's, oh my God, I can't believe you've not heard of Sleepaway Camp. It is so good.
Don't worry about spoilers. Like I say, even if I watch it, I'll probably see it. But like I say, I'm quite interested.
I cannot spoil the end because it will ruin the whole film and the ending. Like I say, if you go onto any list of horror films that have shocking endings, this is one of them. Right. Because there's no fucking way you see this coming at all. Honestly, Paul, I am happy to skip past this one for another time because I watch this every year on my birthday.
All right, okay.
I
generally never heard of it, so probably passed me by a little bit. So I take it by the premise. Is it? Yeah, I take it there's a premise like the kids are the killers rather than the actual.
Yes. Yes, that's not really spoiling anything. Like, you can tell it's not the counsellors because they're all working together. Like, they're not big dickheads like you would expect them to be for that type of film or movie, because I can really hear it now. But yeah, it is. Don't look into it. I'm so surprised it hasn't shown up on Eli Roth's History of Horror because it is up there in for me, the slasher pantheon. It's just the ending. Oh my God, the ending is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It is on YouTube. I highly recommend that you watch it, and we will come back to this another time. So you move on to your next one. Right,
okay. Controversial, like say skipping a pick. So yes, my next one again is a modern one, 2011. Saw this one at the pictures. Again, wasn't expecting anything. Didn't really see much advertising because this came about with very little fanfare, and when it hit, this blew up. This was one of the biggest like horror films I think, changing the rules and everything for us. Because again, would you class this as a slasher? I certainly would because of the first part of it. But it's so clever, so well done, and the ending is just so surprising that you don't really expect it. Cabin in the Woods.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, yeah, I would put it in the slasher genre. It has slasher elements in it. It also it has a lot of other elements in it, but that's what makes it as special as what it is, because that ending you do not see coming in the slightest, and it is brilliant. We were just talking about this the other day because it comes up on Eli Roth's program, and even Ant was like, "I'm going to have to watch it again because that looks like he generally can't remember it." And when we were talking about the end, he was like, "That sounds really cool, actually, with all the different monsters coming out."
Yeah. So I know this was filmed quite a few years before it was actually released. Because I know, like I say, I don't know if Chris Hemsworth did Thor before this, but I think it came out because of Chris Hemsworth was being cast as Thor, because they had this film in the pocket and thought, right, we can use this as a Chris Hemsworth vehicle now. But again, flipping the switch, absolutely brilliantly done, where there's these gods like that run the show, and we have to do certain things to appease the gods. and give it an entertaining value as well. So and what they said is every type of movie or horror film trope is done for a purpose. So they're drugging these kids to act certain ways, like to be slutty, to be a stoner, to be stupid and jockey, even though, like say, quite intelligent and, like say, down-to-earth people. But they get them to act in certain ways and die in certain ways that to appease these gods. And it's so, like, the little tricks they do it, and they get you to go in the basement and to pick your own destiny. Like, there's got like a box there where it brings out someone that looks like a Hellraiser. It's got the Necronomicon to bring out the Deadites.
Yeah, it reminds us a lot of Evil Dead, that the setting of it. Yeah.
And when they finally work out what's going on, and like say the two kids that are meant to die, or one of them was meant to die, and the virgin was either survive or not. It depend on the preference. But when they got to that part, and you see all the different elevators and different factions that it does lead to, and the bigger picture, that was the whole thing. Then as soon as when they escaped, the carnage and everything that it caused, and then the big reveal at the end that fucking Sigourney Weaver is in charge as well. That was brilliantly played out and totally not expecting as well.
No.
And again, for a modern horror film, as I know I've been quite vocal in the past, like say modern horror films have not been great and not lived up to the hype. This one had no hype, and it came out of nowhere, and it blew me away completely. And I know, again, he's not flavour of the month or even a nice person. I know Joss Whedon had a lot to do with this, and to get this out there. And it was, like, as I said, it was billed as a Joss Whedon produced film. I don't know if his name would be as attached as much as it probably has been, but it, again, it just, like say, a complete surprise. And if you watch the cast as well, the cast are absolutely perfect and entertaining. A little too on the nose at times, especially with a guy that was a bit of a rip-off of Shaggy out of Scooby-Doo, but you can't really complain too much there.
No, I do. Like, this is one of these movies where I've seen on a list of surprisingly good horror film list, and that's probably the reason why I watched it for. And it does have a huge fan base. This is what happens to these films, though. They don't get it. They come out of nowhere. They can either be hit or miss, but it's the aftermath. It's the DVD release that builds that fan base. So Trick or Treat has the same thing, and this one has one too. It's so underrated as a horror film. It's ridiculous because it is so good. It's so good. There's no other way to describe it.
Cool. So so that's my fourth pick there. So The Cabin in the Woods.
Well, my last one started it all. Not really. It didn't.
From Peep and Tom.
Probably started the slasher genre. I might be a bit too bold in my statement. It generally is one of my favorite films, done by one of my favorite directors. It is the movie that scares my sister more than anything in this world. It's Psycho.
I knew Psycho was going to be on your list there.
Yep. It is generally one of my favorite. I have loved this film since the day I rented it out of Shiny Row College because I could not get a hold of it at all. And the minute I saw it in Shiny Row College Library, I rented it out and I watched it. My sister caught the last. This is why Michaela is so scared of it. She caught the last part. I generally don't think Michaela watched the whole film all the way through.
Right.
But she watched the last part, and it was where you have Norman Bates, and then you have the skull of his mother going over the top of him, like translucent over the top of him.
Yeah.
And it freaked her fuck out. She was so scared. I don't think that was the first. I think that was the first time she'd ever seen it, and she was terrified. But from that moment on, I loved this movie. When I went to Florida for the first time when I was 15, it's not there anymore. There's still residents remnants of it there, but it's not there. The Shrek ride's there instead, but that whole Shrek ride used to be an Alfred Hitchcock experience. And you would go in and you would watch a little movie, like a montage of his films, and then you would go onto a sound stage, and at the end of it, you came into the gift shop, and it just had wall Bates Motel stuff. And I was so overwhelmed. There was so much there. I didn't buy anything. That's what I do. When I get too overwhelmed with something, I don't want to pick the wrong thing, so I just don't get it at all. And I will always instantly regret not buying Bates Motel dressing gown and towel. But I did buy a book that gave me every fact on the movie ever. This is me all over. When I was younger, I was obsessed with the X-Files, and for Easter I got an X-Files guide to the first and second series. It was like my fucking Bible. I used to carry it everywhere with me, and if anyone wanted to get into a conversation, I was like, wait a minute, did you know? And I did the same. I did and I did, even as like a 15-16-year-old, I did the same with this bloody Alfred Hitchcock fact book on Psycho. But then it evolved. Like, We Love Like the Birds is, again, one of my favorites. I love it. I sat and watched it recently. I have a genuine fear of birds. It's not through that film. It is through I got attacked as a kid by a bunch of ducks. It's not the bird itself, it's the wings.
Yeah. Those damn ducks.
It's the flapping. I don't do, it's the flapping noise. It just freaks us out. So anytime I watch that film, I just get totally goosed. Like, I get shaken up by it. But Psycho is just, it is that, what I was talking about earlier, it's that movie that the soundtrack running through it, that violin soundtrack, brings the intensity out.
It's like it goes through your teeth type thing. It's like that type of effect. I'm gutted when I first watched Psycho. I didn't watch Psycho 1. I think I watched Psycho 2 or 3. It was on Channel 4 at stupid o'clock at night. So that was my first experience of Norman Bates and the Bates Hotel. I think it was Psycho 2 when he was going back to the hotel after he'd been medically cleared or something like that.
Yeah, Psycho 2 is Psycho 3.
Because there was one where it wasn't in black and white, it was in colour.
Yeah, they're all in colour after the first one. I'm sure Psycho 3 is the one where he goes back, he gets somebody comes to the house and not lives with him but stays with him for a bit, and it gets out of hand because mother comes back. Psycho 4 is a really good film. Really good for a fourth in the series. It's the radio station one. It's where he's on the phone with the radio station host, and he's basically trying to convince the radio host he is this sadistic person. It's not his mother, it's him, and she flips it to where it's no. This is an illness, and you have it. And they have this battle out throughout the whole movie of, good and evil, and in the end, he burns the place down, and it's so good. Anthony Perkins is brilliant in that, but obviously, very, very young Anthony Perkins in the first one. His acting just isn't quite there yet. Like, it's good, it's really good for the time, but it's it gets better as Norman Bates as it goes on. And this is why I don't diss the sequels to the movie, because you get to see him evolving, and I really enjoy the I don't mind the sequels at all, but obviously the first one is supreme. You got Janet Leigh in there. You got the woman who does that scream better than her daughter.
She didn't really last long as well. It was again for the Scream, like I say, where Scream got the inspiration for Drew Barrymore's early demise. Like I say, get the big star in, thinking she's going to be the big throughout, and doesn't even make it out the shower.
No, she didn't even get out the shower. But her scream is used at the end of the movie. So when is it Vera Mills, when she comes in and she turns Mother around and she sees that it's an actual corpse, skeleton. And she does that iconic scream as she pulls back. That's Janet Leigh, because she couldn't scream. She didn't have that That's
power.
screeching her. No,
Yeah.
she didn't, but that's Janet Leigh who does that. And me little book that I had broke down the shower scene. That used to fascinate the shit out of me, how he did that shower scene.
Yeah, I think it was on Eli Roth's. It was 32 different shots in, like I said, that was I couldn't believe. But again, and when you look back to today's modern standard, it's not really that graphic, and it's nothing. But again, it didn't need to be. It just had to be, like I say, little elements, and like I say, when you see the little dark color, which, like I say, was a blood going down the plug hole, it was iconic. And again, it changed, as I said, slasher films or horror films going forward, which
it kind of introduced the genre to it, like that, like the genre of slasher. I'm a very bold statement of me to say it started it, but
yeah.
No, I don't know.
I think it might not have started, but it was the one that did it the best.
Yeah,
for the time.
But I will watch anything to do with this movie, documentaries. Like it's almost like my Tolkien obsession, because I am obsessed with. I love Lord of the Rings, but I am more obsessed with Tolkien. So I will watch anything to do with him, and it's the same when it comes to Psycho or any Alfred Hitchcock film for that matter. And when Anthony Perkins brought out the biography film with Helen Mirren of Hitchcock, and it's all to do about the making of Psycho. Brilliant. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But the story is fantastic. Like, I know I've gone on about everything else other than the story, but the story is fantastic. That it's broken into two parts. You've got the first part, obviously, where you kill your main star, and then the second part where they're going out to find her. She wasn't exactly the nicest of people. Like, she was having an affair with somebody who was married and then stole a bunch of money from a business who trusted her. Marion Crane was not the greatest of people. She didn't deserve to die in a shower, but she wasn't the best of people.
No, and I'd say when the true victim in that story again is Norman Bates. Like I say, abused. He's abused as a child, grown up to adore his mother, but being also terrified of her at the same time, to the point where he encapsulated and can't ever escape her in a way. Heavily
influenced by Ed Gein.
Yeah.
The mother inside of it, obviously not the corpse and the the skin building and shit like that, and the nipple belts and stuff. Nothing like that. But no, it got really into, for a film that isn't really that long. It's not a long film. It's the psychological part of it is incredibly interesting. I know you could class it as a slasher because of the kill. There is only one kill. Well, there's two. The detective gets it. There's not, kill wise, it's not massive, but it is done with a knife, so there's a slasher. But the psychological part of it is really interesting. There is the series Bates Motel. I have tried to get into it, but it is one where I'm not in it enough to keep going back. Like, it hasn't gripped us yet.
No, I didn't think it was for me. I tried watching it, but again, it's all about humanizing or giving reasons why they are killers. It's always more interesting that you don't see that aspect. And to me, like I say, even though there's great actors and actresses in it, again, I was never going to get bought into it. But it's got its fan base. It done well for the horror genre as well. So it got new fans and new eyes on it as well.
Definitely, I didn't not like it. It just didn't grip me enough to where I had to like watch the next episode straight away, like with other series.
What did you just to say something controversial as well? What did you think of the Vince Vaughn remake, where it was a shot by shot,
want to see it?
Where it was basically just like an exact shot by shot remake of the same film in a pointless done way.
What were they thinking? Oh yeah, and you see Anne Heche's bumhole. If you ever listen to Hollywood Babylon with Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith, they used to do a segment called Anne Heche's Bumhole. But yeah, it's awful. Who directed that?
Was it Gus Van Sant?
Yes, it was. Oh, good God. It was. Why though? Like, why?
I don't know. It's one of them things where someone thought that was a good idea and come out afterwards and went, why the fuck did we do that?
It was not. And the original scored 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. Personally, I think it should be 100. because it is absolutely perfect. I got a name right. It was Vera Rose. Well done, me. But yeah, it's just, I love it. I absolutely love it. Nothing will ever. I own every single Alfred Hitchcock film because my dad, when he first discovered eBay and went on a spending spree, he found every single Alfred Hitchcock film in a folder from Japan.
Right.
And that's what I have. It's in my living room. It's huge, and it's got every single one in. But it's from Japan. It's not like all the copies are English, but the packaging is all Japanese.
Japanese.
Brilliant.
Not a bad find. So, last pick, Psycho, which was, like I say, a good last to leave to the end. So well done for that one. I knew you were going to pick it. I had a funny feeling. So, like I say, that's why one of the ones didn't leave off my list. So, are you ready for my last pick?
Yes.
So this film, again, I know a few people have watched it recently and don't get, like I say, I don't understand how they don't get how scary this film is. I generally left the cinema and was terrified to go home alone. I would not be at home in the dark for a long time after this film. And again, normally I don't get too scared during films, but the premise and the idea of this film scares the shit out of me now. It was 2008. Starred Liv Tyler.
Oh my god! Right, yes.
So
I know.
The Strangers.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it.
I've never seen it, but I have seen the end because it gets spoiled on every list or mention of this because it does get highly regarded as a top-notch film.
It's film.
I keep doing it.
It's just like, say, the premise of this. Well, the idea behind it just terrifies me. It's the fact that even if you go away and, like, say, if you live in an area where it's quite secluded and you're in the house by yourself, and we all get nervous when you're by yourself. It's an uneasy feeling. And having someone knock on the door that you're not expecting, or like say asking a question, especially late at night, and then the whole idea of this is the slowly tension building, and like say the masks as well as creepy as fuck. Like say I know some horror films when they use a mask, it can either go either way. It can either be really scary or really cheesy. This one was done just enough where it was unnerving, and you never see the killer's faces, and the whole premise is. Never see the faces. And the whole premise is the reason why they're doing it is because they answered the door they were in at the time. So if they never answered the door, they would have moved on to someone else. They didn't pick them. They didn't choose them for any reason other than they answered the door.
That's uneasy, that, isn't it? That's really uneasy. I don't know if this falls under the slasher genre. It's more of a survival horror, if that is even a genre, but it reminds us, when you're describing it reminds a lot of Hush. You ever seen Hush?
Yeah, no, like I say, I've seen it. The reason why, like I say, as I would suggest, this is a slasher is because they're getting stalked. Like I say, they use weapons, and like I say, it is like I say, torture up there. It is kind of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a way, and the type of way where it's kind of like they're being hunted down. And Liv Tyler, again, I'm not a biggest fan. I know she's done some good things, and like say,
I don't mind her. I don't have any.
She was in this terrible film about walking in rings, which was not my street.
Walking in rings? Are you making that up?
I'm taking the piss out of you, Lord of the Rings. It was a film about walking about a ring.
Like, what are you on about? Well, because I can't take. I cannot accept the fact that nobody doesn't like Lord of the Rings. Michaela hates Lord of the Rings. Like, she absolutely despises it. But yeah, no, I did not get that. I was too busy trying to look out the corner of my eye to see if my lights were still on. Even though I can quite easily see them in my camera. So that was just ridiculous, yes. But okay.
But
Thank you for mocking Lord of the Rings.
I'll always do it though, so don't worry. I can't wait. We'll do that episode. That's going to be an interesting one. But
I can't wait until Vic gets on here, because Vic is a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and she will back me up.
But Yes, so like I said, when they've got like the end, and like I said, these three people who's basically worn this couple out, tortured them, put them through all different type of mental anguish, and Liv Taylor's basically barely hanging on, and just she says, "Why?" I say, "Why are you doing this?" And she said, "You were in." It's so terrifying, and when they're driving away as well after leaving them for dead, basically they come up to these kids, pull up on a road, and the kids are giving out these Bible study, like say leaflets, and these killers just take it and drive off because you think they're going to kill the kids. But I know there was a sequel. The sequel is terrible. Don't even bother with the sequel. It's so anticlimactic. But this, if you're, like you say, ever home alone and you want to be really scared, watch it because it makes you feel uncomfortable and not wanting to be home alone or even in a house by yourself.
I can do that to myself without having to watch anything. When Ant was on a close once and he was getting a lift home, so I didn't have to go and pick him up. I managed to scare myself by lying in bed with my foot out the bed and thinking to myself, what would you do? Like asking myself the question, what would you do if somebody touched your foot right now? And I managed to freak myself out. So I can do it perfectly okay by myself, but I will wait until Ant is in the house to watch that one.
Cool. So that's my final pick. Again, if you've not seen it, go and see The Strangers if you like to be scared, because generally it is a scary film, which again, not many.
I'm gonna have to watch it. It comes up on every list of like the best intense horror films. It comes up on everything. The whole story is not, it is kind of ruined, but I don't care. Like I really don't care.
You don't need to know. Yeah, you don't need to know the premise. Just like say the way they go on and like I said the behaviour, it's unnerving, and that's to me makes a good horror film. That makes you feel that uncomfortable, and you can't not watch it because you want to see what happens. Not to the point where it's like say I'm not a big fan of the torture porn craze. We've had this type of conversation before. Like say I can give it, take it or leave it, but it's just cleverly done.
No, torture porn's not my cup of tea either. Not a fan. But for all we've done a list of slasher films, not one of us has actually mentioned Friday the 13th.
Certainly, I thought that was going to be a case. Again, I might get shot for this because when you watch the films, none of them are really that good.
I mean, don't get us wrong. I love the first one. It is iconic. It was, it followed on lovely from Halloween. And one of my favorite T-shirts is my Friday the 13th one, which I've got on right now. I do really like the first one, but apart from that, I don't really have an infinite love for the franchise. Don't get me wrong. I think Freddy vs. Jason is fucking brilliant. I will fight you, any of you. That film is funny as shit. It is really good. I really enjoy it.
I think Jason Friday the 13th, it goes to the extremes where it's one of them things where it's so bad it's good at times. Like one of my favourites for it is probably Jason Takes Manhattan, which is just absolutely ludicrous in the way it goes on. And some of the deaths, again, the budgets aren't great. They do what they can, but like I say, I didn't think it would be on your list. That's one of the things I was going to talk about at the end. That with it being Friday the 13th, we'll have to get Jason in there sometime. But again, it's not up there. I think it
definitely isn't.
Well, I thought, like I say, one of the other ones I was going to mention as well is, again, we talked about it last week. It's become more of a lampoon of the saga. I know the first one is a little bit is quite scary at another time, but it hasn't aged well. The Nightmare on Elm Streets again can be a good slasher film, which is like I say, I love Robert Englund, and I think he does Freddy down perfectly. But again, you can't take it serious.
No, you can't, and I love him for his commitment to the character. Like he could have walked away from that so many times.
Oh, but he was generally having fun. You could tell he was having the time of his life definitely. There.
And if you saw him on Eli Roth's History of Horror, he even openly admits that, we did. We took it a bit too far, but we were having fun with it. Like, and I love actors who are fully committed to the character and who, regardless of how we see it, they are still dedicated to it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that about people, about actors, and he is one of them. Genuinely, like people see on the convention circuit, he is a generally nice guy. Like such a lovely guy.
Yeah. And like say again, just naming a few more, like say the child player films, like say the slashes, but again, done in a silly way where you can't take seriously. And when you talk about commitment and to the role, like I think it was Brad Dourif, is that right?
Brad Dourif, yeah. Brad Dourif.
He, like I say, he's been in a few big films and stuff, but he took
Lord of the Rings.
Film about walking, which could have been over with if the eagle flew him straight to Mordor. But again, we'll not go over that just yet.
It's like having a conversation with my husband. Go on, child's play.
There's only one saga, bitch. But yes, child's play again. It's like say Brad Dourif takes the role seriously, and so again with the sequels that come out, it was getting sillier and sillier and sillier. I know people love Tiffany and that whole female, the Bride of Chucky, then the Curse of Chucky, Son of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, the Cult of Chucky. I know they're remaking the TV show now, and that's coming out.
Yeah, well, this was one of my honourable mentions because I am not a doll person. Didn't own baby dolls as a kid because Dolly Dearest scared the living shit out of me. It really put me off. It also Child's Play put me off because at the time, obviously it's a doll, and I was quite young and very unnerved by them, so I stayed away from them. But I always remember there was a lot of blame on a lot of blame for murders that were happening because of the Child's Play films, and it did unsettle us a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
I watched them for the first time a couple of years ago. I watched all three, and then I watched the one when you get introduced into Tiffany. I didn't watch The Seed, and I haven't watched Cult. But the first three, phenomenal. Like
it was.
I couldn't believe how good they were.
Yeah, because I think the case you're talking about was the Jamie Bulger one, wasn't it? Where
it must have been for the time. I didn't even think.
Because the two kids that came out, and like one of the things they said is because they remind the young lad that was devastating at the time for what happened.
Still to this day, it is a sting of what actually happened. I didn't even put two and two together for the time of when it was.
Yeah, because
you're right, it would have been.
Yeah, because they said they watched Child's Play 3 and they thought the kid was Chucky, and that's one of the reasons. I know it turns out, like I say, there was other reasons, but that was what they tried to use as an excuse, and that's why a lot of horror films at the time got the blame. And again, it opens up to a good discussion potentially to have at a future date. Does horror films make you insane, like say going through the whole Scream process, or is it the person that watches the horror films brings out that side of them? We don't know. We will have a conversation about this because I have good. I've just finished recently finished the Columbine Massacre book by Dave Cullen. It is such an interesting read for a case that is very close to us. Which sounds a bit weird because I'm not American, but I do have a slight bit of a connection to it. My best friend was in America when it happened, and she was a state away from Columbine, but we, being us in the UK, don't realise how big it actually is, and generally thought she was there. So we watched the live feeds on the telly all day until she eventually got in contact with us. So it's always been in the forefront of my mind, but that goes into they blamed a lot of video games, Doom especially, and music, horror. Manson got the blame for it for a lot as well. As well, yeah.
All blamed for it at the time, but when you read this book, it couldn't have been further from the fucking truth.
True.
Couldn't have been further from it. So it is a conversation to have later on. But going back to Child's Play, I genuinely love. I'm not scared of him. I'm not scared of him like I'm scared of Dolly.
Yeah.
It did because Brad's voice helped me with me not being scared.
Yeah.
I think the first one is brilliant. The second one is okay. I do like it. I like the fact we still got Andy in it. The third one, I didn't mind it. It's not great, but I didn't mind it.
No, I enjoyed the third one. Like I say, what was the whole thing when he went to army camp? This is your gun. This is your this is your was it? This is your gun. This is your penis. This is for shooting. This is for fun, and this was something like that. I remember that because that was what we used to say. Yeah, that was what we used to say at like at school when we watched it as well, because we thought it was like, oh, you're talking about a penis, so we had to make jokes about it. Yeah, because I remember, like, say, when it first came out, like I say, it being quite haunting. But there's a lot of films. There's ones, like say, I know, like say, on the Eli Roth one, they used the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a slasher, which I can kind of say if it is, but again, to me, it's more of not that type of element.
No, for me, slasher is if a kill is done with a knife. It's as simple as that. The way somebody described Texas Chainsaw Massacre on that Eli Roth program has totally made me see it completely different. And because I have that in my head now, I want to go and rewatch it. I never saw Leatherface as how this person described them. It was a very lonely and very confused man who was trying to be the mother of this fucked up house. Knew no different, but that these people were interfering with his day-to-day life. Yeah. Like, and when you look at it, there is a scene where he's sitting there and he's just totally baffled, like, what the fuck is going on? And I totally see it differently, and I want to go and rewatch it again, but I do not class it as a slasher.
Another one I was toying with the idea, just because I think it's, again, would it class as a horror film, or like say, and would it be a slasher? American Psycho. I think potentially, because you're saying it could be classed as a slasher, but you're saying it from the eyes of this killer rather than the victims.
Do you want to know something?
You've not seen it.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
It used to be one of Michaela's favorite films, and
yeah, I'm not arguing with your sister over that one. So, Michaela, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've seen parts of it, but no, I'm not a fan. Just don't get it. Just not my kind of thing. I did bump Child's Play off my list for Trick or Treat, but what I was going to mention to you just before we came on, I says, "Oh, I watched something the other day." And then remembered what it was and thought, no, I'll save it. I watched for the first time on Wednesday Candyman.
Right, yes. Which surprised me when it's classed as a slasher film.
Well, he does have a hook. I mean, he does. Whoosh,
yeah. But he doesn't really stalk the people. It's like one of them things where he gets brought into them. So again, it's like an urban thing.
Be my victim. Well, it is about urban legends, because that's what she's looking into the entire film. It's about urban legends. What a very powerful film. Like, incredibly powerful. I couldn't put into words while I was watching it how it was making us feel, but I don't think I still can. Like, I still haven't quite processed it yet.
It's scary and hard to watch, but I don't think I enjoyed it at the same time. I don't think you're meant to enjoy it.
No, I don't think you are. I think you are meant to be very uncomfortable while watching it, because I was definitely uncomfortable. Obviously, the racial side of it was bloody wow.
And we're going to get it again with Jordan Peele, so that'll be amped up to the max.
I am now that I have seen this, I am so looking forward to seeing what Jordan's going to do with this, because if he knows how to write anything, he knows how to write about racial injustice, because he did it in Get Out. Yeah, he's just, I generally can't wait for it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm surprised. I've always put it off. I've never, the look of it looks grim. Yeah. Like, it just looks grim. Like, it doesn't look flashy or fancy.
Yeah. I like how they use practical effects, because I think Tony Todd, when I read one, said he got stung 24 times during the scene when the bees all over his face.
Yeah, he did. And you know what? He got insured for every bee sting for $1,000.
Oh, well. So
every bee sting, he got $1,000. He's not daft. That man's not daft. But he still, to this day, does the convention circuit. And he's classed as like a generally nice person. See, this is, again, somebody else he is a horror icon. Not just for Candyman. He's been in
Final Destination,
Night of the Living Dead, Final Destination, There's some other ones I saw on his CV the other day. But he is generally a horror icon, and he's just.
I love his voice.
Oh.
His voice is very. It speaks to your soul when he talks, and you just think. But yeah, like I say, there's so many because when you think about slashers, again, you can have so many discussions and arguments whether that's a slasher or I believe that's not a slasher and where it comes from. But again, it's like horror films, and some of them are terrible. Some of them are there just to watch popcorn, but some of them do genuinely surprise you. And a lot of people don't want to give credit when, because the word slasher or horror film it's like a dirty word at times for people. I know when, I know I was taking the piss out of your friend Carolyn when they were talking about Silence of the Lambs being a horror film. But when that came out, it was a horror film, and they didn't want to call it a horror film when it was in, getting the Academy Awards. They were using words like psychological thriller and stuff like that. So it just shows you.
You were definitely paying attention in Eli Roth's History of Horror. You took a masterclass. It
is interesting.
A good series.
It is.
Mark Gatiss did one a few years ago for the BBC. It's 3-parter. It's on YouTube, very easily to find. Just you type in History of Horror Mark Gatiss, and he goes from start to finish. He goes from, the Phantom of the Opera in the 30s, 20s, 30s, and he goes right up to modern day. And it is such a good watch. Like if I'm stuck, see, this is why I love these type of programs with Eli Roth and Mark Gatiss. Is if you are stuck for inspiration on something to watch, stick them on, and it will certainly give you it.
Certainly. But yes, again, like I say, I've really enjoyed talking about this. Like I say, we could go on all night. One thing I want to mention before we do leave off tonight's episode, I know it's a special one, but I know you've just been to the pictures to see something that I saw last week as well. How good is the fucking Suicide Squad, though? I know it's got nothing to do with slashers, but...
God, Paul, I went to see it on Tuesday. I came home and I watched it again with Ant. I absolutely loved it. It is the first time, it is the first time they got Harley Quinn right. Yeah. They got Rick Flag right. Like, they got him where I actually liked him. They brought an animated shark and made him the best fucking character going. Like, that CGI shark is unreal. It is, fucking love it. And yum yum.
Yum yum.
And I absolutely loved it, Paul. I really did. I was not at all shocked of how much I loved it because James Gunn is great with a massive ensemble cast. He knows what to do with them.
We surprised how gory it was. I didn't expect it to go that far, especially for a comic book film, and not getting an 18. That should have been an 18 any day of the week. Especially when King Shark's ripping people in half and seeing things, and then birds picking skin off dead heads and stuff. Which
dead people. Yes, I totally agree with that. But I do love the effect because you could tell Harley's fight scene was getting too gory, and then they brought out the visual of flowers, and it was to see Harley done in a great way. It was lovely to see all these different characters. Idris Elba and John Cena need to be on the screen with each other more because their chemistry was unfucking real.
John Cena was. I knew from what I was saying that it was going to be interesting, but Jesus Christ, The Rock, you're in trouble, mate.
Yep, Cena is coming for your crown. Do you know what though? Me and Ant we love John Cena. Like, we generally do. Like, we like him as a wrestler. We liked him. I used to watch Total Bellas, and obviously he was on that quite a lot. We always say John Cena is always on.
Yes.
Because that man is just ready to go regardless of what you put in front of him. We love him.
This one, I say, he took it so serious, but in a comedic way. When he's like in the jungle in his tidy white, I was battle laughing, going, "What am I watching?" And then
it's so funny.
Everything he seemed to be in, he was like stealing scenes, and you could, even though again, spoilers, he was a dick at the end, but you can see the conflict in his conflict in when he did what he did, because he. Like you see, you could tell he respected Rick Flag and didn't want to do it, but in the end,
and he pleaded, didn't he? But he knew he had to do what his mission was, because as his name is, he is the peacekeeper by any means necessary.
Yeah.
By any means.
And I'm so looking forward to the TV show.
I cannot wait. The minute I was talking to Ant about it, and I was like, listen, you either need to watch it with us tonight, or we watched it the week. We have to watch it soon. I need to talk to you about this. I need someone to talk to you about. And he watched it on the night time, and we just, even second time around, a few hours later, I thought it was brilliant. But I had no doubt that James Gunn wouldn't do something special with it.
Yeah, certainly.
And it didn't feel like a Guardians of the Galaxy rehash.
No, it felt new, it felt fresh, and that was the main thing. And it made like a dark film quite colourful at times as well, which again,
very colourful.
DC has been missing. So again, get Warner Brothers DC. Make James Gunn the new Kevin Feige. Just let him do everything he wants. Give him Superman. Give him Batman. That would be an interesting take. But
hey, he's attached to Brightburn, and that's very Superman-esque, and that is a brilliant. It's classed in the Netflix bit in the horror genre. I don't know if you would class it as horror, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like if Superman was a dick.
But I did hear a rumor which got us a little bit excited. Have you heard who's in talks to be the lead in Suicide Squad 2?
No.
Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke.
Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, you can say it better than me, but yeah, as Deathstroke.
Only because I adore the man so much. I think he's fantastic. He is the imagery. So there's a Nerdist podcast. It's not called it anymore, it's called Idiot, but you can still get the episode of Joe Manganiello when he was first on it. It's from 2014, and he talks on there. He's still in True Blood, and he says on there that, you know, True Blood is the golden handcuffs. You've got the dream job, but you really are handcuffed to the job. You can't go off and do anything on your downtime because you have to be back at a certain time to get back to work on True Blood. And he says, I had Zack Snyder knocking at the door, handing me a script. Bearing in mind, Superman had not come out yet. And he said, I couldn't do it. I'm telling you now, he got offered Superman before Henry Cavill.
That would have been interesting.
I guarantee it. But if you listen to that episode, it is hilarious because that man does the best Macho Man Randy Savage impression ever. So good. But that is brilliant. If he is in it, I am all for it. I just think he's great.
Cool.
He's a nerd just like us.
Certainly. So again, it's probably been a long one, but I've really enjoyed talking about it.
Shit? It's been fun.
I didn't want to leave without talking about the Suicide Squad as well, because that has been one of the highlights of my week as well, watching that. But
mine too.
I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, like I say, if you've got any concerns, anything that you don't like about our picks, or if you agree, let us know. Comment on the Facebook group, comment on, like I say, the YouTube channel. Like I say, the Facebook group's Nerdy Up North Community, the YouTube on iTunes and Spotify. Just search Nerdy Up North, pretty easy to find now, which is getting quite surprising. But yeah.
Anyone wants to fight me on the Freddy versus Jason comment, come and see us. I'm available on Facebook.
But like I say, it's been a laugh. So thank you for like I say, staying up late with us, Sam, and doing the Friday 13th edition, even though this will probably come out tomorrow. So, but keep it spooky.
Yep. Keeping with the spookiness. No, it's been really fun. My room is gradually getting darker as I'm literally sitting in the pitch black at the moment.
Just hear the knock on the door now when the strangers come. So yes.
Well, thanks.
But anyway, like I say, we'll be back again next week. So same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.